Hello, friends. It's Chris Angel coming at you for another episode of Marketing for the Rest of Us. Over the cold, for the most part, and about to head in for some groceries. Quick shout out to Bobby J on 30A. He's a client, 30A Local Properties in Florida. You can check him out there. Thanks, Bobby, for the hat. So listen, I was listening to a podcast of all things, a podcast, yes. And in that podcast, it had an advertisement. And in that advertisement, it talked about a course on marketing. And I thought to myself, man, that sounds like an awesome course. And it occurred to me that I've spent, over the course of 17 years, I've spent thousands and thousands and thousands of dollars in the name of figuring it out. In the name of figuring it out. Really quick, my invitation to you is to pause and think, how much money have you spent in life to figure it out? Whether it's marketing or business or relationships or fitness, how much money have you spent to figure it out? Right? What's up, Ryan? So listen, here's the other thing I want to bring up. So I listened to a podcast and it made me think, how much I've spent to figure things out. Now, the second thing I want to point you towards is a lot of you I've spoken to recently in a phone call. Right? We've had a conversation or even a Facebook private message, right? We've interacted with one another, you and me. And you've considered doing work with me, whether it's coaching or you've considered working with our marketing agency. And then we get to the spot where it's like, okay, let's go. It's time to commit. You're excited. I'm excited. We both see the possibility. And then you pause, right? Now you pause either because you start to have a scarcity mindset and you get concerned about money. You need to check in with somebody who else is going to help you make a decision. Or you have this pattern of distracting yourself from the thing that you know is next for you. Now, you can't exactly explain how what I'm going to do is going to make a difference for you, but that's not unique to my service for you. That's your pattern. Your pattern is to check into things, get excited about things, and then you pause because you don't know how this is going to fit. And you're like, I don't know. And then you go try the next thing. And then you pause and you go, I don't know. And you try the next thing. But by try the next thing, I mean, you don't pull the trigger. You just go investigate the next thing. And here's what I want to say to you. This is my tough love hat on right now. When you get to the side of having figured it out, what you'll realize is that big performers just make decisions. You just go. You just go. And in the process of going, you pull the trigger and you pay for the thing. Now, maybe you stay with me for 3 months. Maybe you stay with me for 3 years. I've had clients do both. But either way, what I know is that big decision makers and big performers pull the trigger. You pull the trigger. And at the end of the day, here's what we all chalk it up to. Figuring it out. How much are you willing to pay to figure it out? Now, the problem is if you don't pull the trigger and buy into the thing that's moved your soul, then you postpone the figuring it out. You have to go through. You don't go around it. You can't wait for it. You have to go through it to figure it out. Now, whether we're meant to work together for months or years, we don't know, do we? But you have to invest to figure it out. And I'm saying this to you with tough love because I've been there, right? Like the deal is you've got to go in. You've got to go through. I can't tell you how much money I've spent over the years to figure it out. Now, as I spent the money, as I invested the money, what I realized were some things I invested in weren't what I wanted. And other things I invested in were exactly what I wanted. But I didn't know until I invested. And so some of you are checking in with your significant other, or some of you are checking in with the aligned planets and stars. I don't know what you're checking in on, but what I know is that you and I had a meaningful interaction where you were ready to go and then you paused. What are you pausing for? Let's go. People, you know, if you've talked to me, you know I have your best interest in my heart, in my soul. I have your best interest in my heart and soul. You had your best interest in your heart and soul, and we had a connection. We had a connection, and then what happened? What happened? You've got to look into that. You've got to look into that, because that is the pattern. It's not just the decision you made with me, but it's the pattern you keep making over and over and over that keeps postponing your breakthrough. Guys, you could go this alone, or you could go this with somebody else. Either way, how much would you pay to figure it out? I realized the other day I was doing some exercises for marketing for a program I'm doing in June. And the exercises had me go through what is the pain that my tribe is experiencing. And one of the things that caught my attention, I didn't expect this. As I got deeper and deeper into who you are. By the way, you are me. But who you are is that you go it alone. You go it alone. Even if you're surrounded by a team, right? You go it alone. Like you have teams to do things for you, but you make decisions internally. You don't give your team everything. You kind of hold on to things. And you don't really trust people with stuff beyond what you trust them with, but then you don't trust them with all the real stuff, right? Our tribe, we go it alone. And that's been a pattern for us over our lifetime. We go it alone. Even when we have people close to us, we go it alone. And as we go it alone, we try to figure things out. We read books, we listen to podcasts, we go to courses, we even hire coaches. Guys, we even hire coaches. And even inside of that, we only let the coaches come in so far. We have a wall around us and we don't let people in. Because in some way or another, you and I have been burned by people in our past. And so we don't let people in. And the problem with going it alone is that you can't see what you can't see, right? That's a blind spot. You can't see it. So in all your efforts to figure it out, right? In all your efforts to figure it out, you'll never be able to fully figure it out until you go through it. And sometimes going through it means you have to invest with somebody for a season to see if it's going to work, to see if this is going to provide the thing you need to break through. Now, sometimes it is, and sometimes it isn't. But either way, it requires that you risk something, that you have stakes in the game. Like some of you are waiting to invest in working with me as a coach or an agency because you're wanting to be flush with cash. You want to be flush with cash before you invest. Many of you have said, it's a big financial decision. Yep, I got it. I can't tell you how many times I've pulled the trigger to invest in something, to figure something out when I didn't even have the money. And I'm still doing it. Do you know I'm still doing it? Now, listen, I'll be super candid with you. This was a couple weeks ago now. I had a conversation with my wife, checking in with my wife, my sweet wife. How are you? What's going on with you? How are things? And she's like, and long story short, we had a conversation around everything. And she said, it is scary as hell to be married to you. It is scary as hell to be married to you. My eyes welled up with tears as she said that to me, because I was like, the last thing I want for my wife is to be concerned or fearful or whatever. I don't want her to feel scared to be married with me. But it highlighted not only the differences of how we're wired, right? She's wired one way, I'm wired the other. I'm wired for adventure, for risk, I'm an entrepreneur, for Christ's sake. I'm going to go figure it out. I'm going to go figure it out. How much have I spent to figure it out? And my poor wife loves a savings account flush with cash. She loves lots of security. And some of you love that security as well. And what I'm telling you is that if what you're holding on to in making decisions is being flush with cash and you're in business for yourself, you've set yourself in an impossible situation. You're waiting to be flush with cash before you take a risk. That's not the entrepreneurial journey, by the way. And for you to figure it out, for you to figure something out, for most of you, it's marketing, figuring out what I'm going to do with marketing in order to grow my business. You're waiting to be flush with cash before you invest in someone or something to help your marketing. But do you see the catch-22? as you push pause and you don't invest in marketing, what you're left with, your options that you're left with are prospecting, more coffee appointments, more lunches, more networking events, more of the same, more boosting posts. You don't know if it's really working, more hustle, but you don't really know what you're hustling for. So you can see that you start to pigeonhole yourself. You start to paint yourself into a corner where you're left with more of the same until you invest in something different. And if you've talked to me, some of you I know who are already watching this have talked to me, right? You've spoken to me about coaching or about our marketing agency that will do marketing for you. We've had that conversation. And if you are one of the ones who's pushed pause and are wanting to talk to somebody else or get the okay or get the green light or wait for a flush savings account of cash to move forward, what I'm telling you is that's not the path of the entrepreneur. You take, and you know this because you know you've taken risk in the past. You know you've taken risk in the past. And right now you're afraid to take risks because maybe you've done it too many times before. I did that. I used to take risk on like crazy. This is why my wife said it was scary as hell to be married to me. Because she knows that when the time comes to take on the next challenge, she knows I'm going to go. She knows I'm going to go. I'm not asking for her permission. I'm going to go. That's my soul's calling. That's my soul's calling. So I go. I have to. I have to go. And if you're an entrepreneur with a burning desire in your soul to make an impact, you know you have to go. So let's go. Let's go. You and me, let's go. Let's go. If you and I have already had a conversation and you're ready to go, you're not ready to pause, but you're ready to go, let's go. Private message me, or if I've already sent you a link, then let's go. Yes? And if you haven't private messaged me, if we haven't had a conversation, but you have watched this show or you have been checking in and you're like, God, I need to figure it out. Like, yes, I need to figure it out. Great. How much are you willing to invest to figure it out? I can help you with that. Whether it's through coaching or a marketing agency, I have perspective for you and we can figure it out. Whether you stay with me for 3 months or 3 years, we will just figure it out. But it all starts with a conversation. If you and I have not had a conversation yet, private message me. Let's have a conversation. I promise you I can help you in one fashion or another. I've just been around the block long enough to know that I know how to pull out people's greatness. Yeah? And for the most part, most of you, my tribe, I know where you're stuck. Because it's been me. I know where I was stuck. So, here's how I'll wrap, right? I'll wrap with this. How much are you willing to invest to figure it out? If you look over your life to this point, you've spent tens of thousands of dollars, most likely, to quote unquote figure it out. Whether you spent money on Facebook ads, boosted posts, some of you are real estate agents, how much money, I don't know how much money you spent on Realtor.com and Zillow. It's ridiculous and stupid. And you do it in the name of because you have to, which is ridiculous. Some of you have spent money on print advertising. Some of you have spent money on coaches. Some of you have gone to conferences. Some of you have spent time at hotels. Some of you have spent more money on liquor and wine over the course of your career than you have in figuring it out. Like we could go all sorts of directions, right? And point to all the ways that we justify the things we spend. But for the sake of your soul, because your soul has important work, it's the thing that keeps prompting you to push further. That's your soul trying to help you find your important work in the world. What is it worth to figure it out? Let's find out. Private message me and let's have a conversation. Thanks for hanging out with me today for today's episode of Marketing for the Rest of Us. Until tomorrow, here's to being real. Have a great night. See you tomorrow.